Good evening, this is Jack from Charting Markets, and this is the Bigger Picture webinar for the evening of, actually it's for the evening of Saturday, the 26th of July. Sorry, I've just got this out of the early out today because I really need to sort out membership stuff and putting paywalls up and all this sort of stuff. So I'm going to be sorting that out tomorrow, and I think, I haven't decided yet, but I'm either going to be putting up the paywall on the 1st of August or on the anniversary of my leaving the outer chart, which will be the 5th of August. But at that stage, I'm going to be putting up paywalls on the Bigger Picture webinar and obviously on the crypto Substack as well. So, all right. So watch out for the emails, and I'm certainly going to be doing one more free one, which will be the one on Wednesday, and very possibly the one on next weekend as well. All right, great. Let's have a look at ES. Now, ES has gone up higher. This really doesn't look like a double top anymore, and actually, it's done some significant amount of damage in terms of the divergences, but I'll come to that. But this is a grind upwards, and it's starting to look trendy. It's not really including most of the others. I mean, if we look at NDX here, this is still a nice looking little level top, and we've still got the sell signals there. IWM, this is a really nice looking, RTY rather, on this one. This is a really looking nice looking nested double top. On Dow, which I'm hoping is going to just go a whisper higher and make the new all-time high on the Dow Industrials. But here, very nice looking double top as well. And we've actually got what looks like this is either a bull flag that's broken up and has just pulled back before heading off to the target, or we're forming a larger, what looks like a bull flag, which will probably, in due course, come back and retest this high. But either way, that looks pretty similar on both DAX and ESTX. So I'm really expecting to see a high in due course, which we haven't seen there yet. The unfinished business that I've been talking about is basically the retest of this high on ESTX, retest of the high on all-time high on both on DAX, and also retest the all-time high on Dow Industrial. We shall see how that goes. All right, let's have a look at the bigger picture charts, where the big news was that the looking at ES, we lost the RSI 14 sell signal on ES on Friday. The RSI 5 sell signal just about survived, but we lost both the RSI 14 and the RSI 5 sell signals on SPX. This is starting to look trendy. If we start losing more of those, and I need more confirmation really ideally from NDX, but if we start losing those, then actually higher targets start looking very credible. And if we're going to higher targets, then I would be looking at, on the weekly chart, I'd be looking at the potential of hitting this trend line here, which I've got with us almost at 6,400 this week. I've got that in about the 6,500, possibly as high as the 6,525 area. And that could be the next big target. We shall see. No divergence on the weekly chart. If we look at the hourly chart, we've still got an old RSI 14 sell signal fixed, and if we didn't have one already, another one would be brewing. We've got an RSI 5 sell signal brewing as well on the hourly. We haven't reached the obvious trend line if this is if this initial wedge which broke down is expanding, but certainly that can't be ruled out at the moment. So I'm waiting to see whether or not this initial wedge, whether I sort of redraw the line through here. We shall see how that goes. All right, looking at the cues, we've now got another possible weak RSI 14 sell signal brewing, and we're still very much looking at an RSI 5 sell signal which is fixed. And if we didn't already have one, another one would be brewing. This isn't running out of control at the moment. I've got a couple of trend lines here. This would actually be the ideal one here if it went up and hit this trend line, because that's a really nice trend line that comes from this low here. That would be the ideal one. If this wedge is expanding and going upwards, I'd be looking for a move there. Not really been seeing much sign of that, but obviously we have gone significantly higher since the wedge broke down. On the 15-minute chart, we've got a weak RSI 14 sell signal fixed. Nothing really to see. Nice looking little double top here, possibly a part formed head and shoulders below. On Dow, as I said, we have not quite made the retest of the all-time high, but we've got very, very close. doesn't need to get much higher. So that is unfinished business above, and I'm still expecting to see that. Dia, of course, has retested the all-time high and made a new one, but we really need to see that done on the Dow Industrial as well, because the Dow Industrial is the index on which Dia and the futures and so on are based. All right, got the new week to pivots in and so on. We've got a possible RSI 14 sell signal brewing now on the Dow, nothing on the RSI 5. The hourly sell signal I called when we got back to the 70 level. So we've only got hourly sell signals remaining on SPX and the QQQ. This is potentially a pretty nice looking double top. We'll see how that goes. And we never actually made it to the trendline support on Dow, which would be, hang on 1 second. And it might be that if we do see a bit of a retracement, then it actually makes it. That would be here. So we will see. But it's been a nice setup. We had a lovely flag. It broke up. It retested the high. I think it needed just to go a little bit higher. We shall see. All right, great. Let's have a look at IWM. And on IWM, we've got, hang on, bear with me. Okay, we've got an weak RSI 14 sell signal fixed, RSI 5 sell signal fixed. Both of these are looking pretty secure here, and neither of them look in any danger of failing. As I said, it's mainly SPX which is running away to the upside here and killing off divergence levels. We've had a little bit of that on the Qs as well, but we lost the divergence on the RSI 14 and we've got it back again. But the RSI 5 sell signal is still hanging tough. On the 60-minute chart, obviously we did see a breakdown slightly below the wedge support. This is a beautiful double top at the moment. So we will see. On the 15-minute, the same really. Very small sell signal fixed here. Nothing really particularly to write home about. Looking at DAX. DAX is a very nice looking double top already. The flag setup is suggesting that we're going to see another retest of the all-time high at 24.6k. So I'm looking for that. On Nikkei, I was saying that if IWM made the target, then I'd be looking for the retest of this high at 42.4, and we do have a lovely flag that's broken up. Because we have this Japan deal, which, like all of Trump's deals, seems shrouded in controversy and mystery. But nonetheless, we have seen what isn't mysterious is we've seen a very nice move up, which has almost got us back up to the retest of this high here at 42.4. So even if the IWM IHS doesn't make target, I'm still leaning towards that happening. So really, I'm expecting to see that too. We shall see. Okay, let's have a look at the DX chart. Okay, DX. We've got a double top which is broken down with a target at a retest of this low. We are slightly over the monthly pivot, but mainly we had a buy signal which has made target. This would be a good opportunity to turn back down and come back into a retest of this low. And Trump, who oddly a week ago he was just saying that obviously no American administration would be in favor ever of a weaker dollar, but yesterday it appears I've got a video of him saying that actually a weaker dollar is better all around. Because it's easier to sell stuff. So what is the official stance on this? I don't know. Not particularly clear. But certainly that isn't supportive of the dollar. This would be a good time to go back and retest this low, and I'm still thinking it might well do that. Let's have a quick look at the hourly currencies here, and on the Euro chart. We've had a bit of a pullback here, but it can still very easily head up and retest this high. On GBP USD, not a lot to see. USD JPY, not a lot to see either. But this is interesting on the USD CAD. This is a bearish triangle. This would be A, B, C, D, and this would be E, which could break down at any time. Unless this breaks the other way, this is fairly strongly supportive of the dollar going down, because of course this is positively correlated with the dollar. For this to go back and retest the low, that would suggest strongly that the dollar would be going down with it. So I'm quite liking that. We will see how it goes. All right, let's have a look at those on the big picture charts. Okay, looking at the US dollar. We've got obviously a breakup from this short-term wedge, a back test. Obviously, we've got potential support there. If we were forming an IHS, the next move would be up to 99.5, and then we'd see a pullback for a right shoulder, and so on. But on the bigger picture chart, we've obviously got the We've got on the weekly chart, we've got an RSI 5 buy signal fixed, got a possible weak RSI 14 buy signal brewing, and we've tested the main rising megaphone support that I'd been looking for since we made this high in late 2022. So this is a very, very significant level. We've also got a bull flag. If this breaks up, this setup could easily deliver a retest of this low, but it would deliver it even better if we went back down, retested this low without significantly breaking this trend line, and then went back up and retested that trend, retested that high. So we will see whether we get that. All right, euro, of course, we've got on the weekly chart, you can see we've got a matching bear flag to match the bull flag on the US dollar chart. No current divergence on the daily chart, but a retest of this high and a move down with a small double top would certainly be something which would be on the cards here. We'll see. GBP USD, again, on the weekly chart, we've got a nice looking bear flag. On the daily chart, no divergence really, weak sell signal which is sort of trickling its way down. This could be a head and shoulders forming though, and I'm thinking it might well be, so I'm just going to mark in the neckline for that. But really looking at it, and with the support of the triangle on USD CAD, I'm leaning towards at least a strong attempt to retest that low. And if we were to see that, it's a pretty nice looking head and shoulder neckline. And actually we've made a decent right shoulder there with the resistance of the daily middle band. That's nice. It's not a huge move, but this could this would actually be bullish for the dollar if we see it, but it wouldn't be much of a move, and this is only 9% of the index. We shall see. It's the euro which matters most because, of course, it's 57% of the US dollar index. All right, looking at USD/JPY, bigger picture, I'm leaning short, but there's nothing to bar a retest of the high here at 162. No divergence there. USD CAD, bigger picture, huge and very nice looking level, double top, and I am wondering as and when we may see that play out if we start seeing a very big move down in the dollar. On USD CAD, on the daily chart, this looks like a bear flag triangle. So I mean, I haven't marked it in as I've done it on the hourly chart, but it's the same pattern. Hang on, I'll just mark that in. We will see, but that's a really nice setup, and it's a nice triangle. And if that plays out, then that'll deliver a retest of the low here on CAD, which wouldn't be a bad match with obviously a retest of the low on DX. So we will see, but that's actually encouraging for the downside for the next step. And as I said, the buy signal that we had on the DX chart has made target. Australian dollar still hasn't broken up from this channel or possible falling wedge. I think it's a channel. Bigger picture, this looks like it needs a retracement soon, and that would be a fit with the dollar going up, although Australian dollar and NZ aren't actually part of the dollar index anyway, but you will tend to find them inversely correlated to a degree in any case. In terms of NZ, we've got this very nice triangle that's been forming for 5 years now. This would generally break up in due course. We'll see how that goes. On the daily chart, not really an awful lot to see. Possible double top here, but nothing really indicating strongly in any direction, although we do have some open double bottom targets above, and if we see a move down in the dollar, we might see a move up which actually makes those targets. All right, let's have a look at bonds. And bonds, hang on, bear with me a moment. Okay, ZB. ZB has been looking, well, we've got a head and shoulders here, and it's still going. This hasn't failed yet, and I'm still thinking this might make target. Looking at ZN, we had a head and shoulders here. It broke down and then failed with a move over the right shoulder high here. What am I thinking here? I'm wondering if we're forming a triangle, which again would tend to lean bearish. But that's the feeling I'm getting from here. We've been having a few triangles forming on various things at the moment. They do tend to form in clusters. We shall see. In terms of the bigger picture charts, on TNX we've got an IHS which is broken up, and that has failed. And I've got a possible head and shoulders which is pointing down. So this could just fall straight back into the lows. that wouldn't be, it's not a bad pattern setup to do that. TLT, on the other hand, we've got a head and shoulders and it hasn't fell. So again, it's like ZB and Zono. It's, we are in a point of decision here and we'll see which way it goes. But I'm thinking I don't really have a strong lean one way or the other, and TYX isn't really saying a great deal to us either, except that we do know at this level here, 50 level, the Treasury was buying an awful lot of bonds to support to keep the bond yields down, and it may be that what we're seeing at the moment is that happening as well. All right, looking at CL. We're still holding this rising support. My feeling is it's probably going to break. And if it does, that opens up a retest of this low and potentially a lot lower, possibly a retest of these lows. We will see. No current divergence, sell signal made target. HO, we've got a nice looking megaphone here and it broke down and back tested, and at the moment looks as though it's going to a lower low. I've got a possible head and shoulder neckline here. There are options for decent looking topping patterns, but there's a sort of a bearish lean on here. RBOB, of course, we've got a double top which is broken down with a target in the 2.025 area, and at the moment it kind of looks as though it may well make a target. All of these are leaning not strongly, but significantly to the short side. So sell signal here has already made the possible near miss target. We shall see. All right, looking at NG. NG, we're seeing a sideways consolidation here, and that looks like a bearish consolidation before this at least retests the low and heads down. This again could be a triangle forming. We've got a 6-minute buy signal fixed, hasn't made target yet. If it does and gets up towards the weekly pivot at 3.259, then we could have actually a decent looking bear flag forming. But at the moment, it's kind of a formless sideways consolidation. That would tend to lean bearish. All right, let's have a look at those on the bigger picture charts. And looking at WTIC, we've still got an old weak RSI 14 sell signal fixed, and we're still holding the daily middle band as resistance. This has actually, it's been basically testing this for about a month and a bit. This has actually been an extended consolidation. Generally speaking, again, I'd be leaning towards this being a bearish consolidation. Where could this be headed? It could be headed to a retest of this low here at 56.06. And actually, if we reach this trend line down here in about the 54 area, i.e. we reach the trend line wedge support, then we might actually just be seeing an expansion of this wedge and it being ongoing to the downside. We'll see. All right, looking at heating oil, bigger picture, possible double bottom here, showing no sign of it breaking up at the moment. Looking at the daily chart, no current divergence. This has been just about holding on, testing the daily middle band from the top, and that's just about been holding on to that. Looking at gas oil, this has actually lost the daily middle band and has been going lower. We've also got some very tight bands suggesting that we might see some kind of a significant move soon. The obvious next move would actually be into a retest of this low here at 1.855. So loosely speaking, that's kind of what I'm expecting. You can see on the daily middle bands here that we've lost it and it's holding it as resistance at the moment. Looking at natural gas, I'm wondering about, hang on one second. I'm thinking we've got a double bottom here and it may be failing. If so, the obvious target would be to fall back into this low. If we have a look at the bigger picture here, I'm wondering about A, B, C with nice rising wedge for B. That C could get us down to here. If so, we've got a nice looking rising megaphone, which on a breakdown could send us back straight back into that low at a retest of 1.69. We shall see. But I've got to say I'm leaning towards the short side, although we are reaching a point in the year where we're starting to see increases as we come into as we start heading towards the end of the summer. There's a general lean to it going up, but to be honest, that's just a seasonal lean. I think bigger picture, I'm leaning towards the downside here. We'll see whether we can hold support here. We've still got a potential double bottom, but really I'm leaning short. Okay, let's have a look at metals. Now, metals are looking pretty interesting at the moment. This is gold, where we saw a kind of a break up here, and then we saw a breakdown, and we saw a break of this rising support trend line here. Now, it's not completely clear, but that is opening up some downside potentially, but we do have a possible 60-minute buy signal ring. But I've got a lot more to say about all of these on the bigger picture charts. Looking at silver, nice looking double top. And since I called it as a potential level top up here, we've been making some pretty good progress towards the trend line. This could be setting up a reversal. On palladium, we've got nothing particularly obvious in terms of a topping pattern here, but again, there's kind of a lean to the short side on the bigger picture, and the same on platinum, where we've got a little level top which is broken down here. We've got a possible head and shoulder neckline here. We'll see how that goes. HG, we've retested this high here, and I'm wondering about this being a double top and this taking a header from going down from here. We have got a 60-minute sell signal fixed. I hadn't marked it in, but that has already reached the possible near miss target. Okay, let's have a look at those on the bigger picture charts. And gold, I've got this as a triangle here, and it's quite a nice triangle. This would be A, B, C, D, E, which generally be a partial wave, and then I'd be looking for a breakup and a retest of the all-time high. Now, we've been waiting for the retest of the all-time high for a while, and actually this isn't a bad setup to see that. And this is a daily RSI 14 sell signal. It's been around for a while, but it just about held on, and after that, I'm thinking we might make a double top and go down. And I have to say the others are all looking fairly bearish. Silver, no current divergence on the weekly chart, but on the daily chart, we've got an RSI 14 sell signal fixed, and we've got an RSI 5 sell signal fixed, and we reached a big resistance level, and we've got a nice looking double top, and what's looking like the beginning of rejection here. So these could all match up if gold goes up and retests the all-time high, makes a second time a double top here, there, and heads down. But gold's looking relatively bullish, although obviously it could be that the triangle breaks the other way, but the obvious lean is the triangle on gold breaks up. This looks kind of bearish. Looking at palladium, RSI 14 sell signal fixed, RSI 5 sell signal fixed. Haven't quite reached the obvious level. If this is a bear flag forming here, I've drawn in the lines, and we've reached the first target on this double bottom that broke up. But ideally, we'd actually get up into about the 1400 area. So again, a little higher here for the ideal trend line. We'll see whether it can manage it, but we can actually set up a very nice looking bear flag and set up a very nice looking retracement. In terms of the signals, daily sell signals, very, very fixed. Here on platinum, we've got some decent resistance as well. It doesn't have to hold, but it's more or less holding so far. And again, RSI 14 sell signal fixed, RSI 5 sell signal fixed. Now, as we're seeing from equities at the moment, these don't always deliver. But platinum at the moment is trying to break down below the daily middle band. I'm thinking these may well be setting up to play out. I would like to see palladium go a little higher first. I'd like to see gold retest the all-time high, which we've been waiting for a while. Well, I am wondering if we might actually see a decent retracement in all of these after that. On copper, of course, people are stocking up because there's a 50% tariff going on at the start of August, or at least so we understand. Bigger picture, I've got a possible RSI 14 sell signal brewing on the daily. Nothing on the RSI 5 because we've gone up and lost that. But yeah, it's got prospects. Bigger picture, I think after the tariffs go on, I suspect this is going to be a lot less popular. Looking at GDX, possible RSI 14 sell signal brewing. Reached some resistance here, might be going through it, but we've got a nice looking little double top here. So waiting to see if that delivers. We do not have the same thing on GDXJ though. But it could be forming a bear flag, bit of a retracement. We'll see. But I think really gold is significantly bullish pattern we've got on there. The rest of them mostly are leaning bearish. We shall see. All right, great. Let's have a look at the other commodities. Okay, KC. We saw a decent rally here. We've now got a weak 60-minute sell signal fixed, and I'm leaning towards maybe seeing a retest this low. There is an possible alternative where we're forming a bear flag here. Could see a higher high, maybe test the monthly pivot at 321.90. We shall see how that goes. But overall, this is potential bottoming action, and I'm watching that carefully. Looking at sugar, this is a potential inverse head and shoulders. Week 60-minute buy signal has reached possible near miss target. It needs to obviously start making tracks towards the inverted head and shoulder neckline. If this is an IHS, we shall see. But looking at CC, might be bottoming out here. Not a particularly pretty IHS, but it's a contender. No current divergence. Bigger picture, really both cocoa and coffee particularly are above their traditional levels, but we'll come to that on the bigger picture charts. CT, this is actually a very nice looking triangle. This would be a bearish triangle. I've extended the trend line back here because I could fit, and you quite often get these. And you quite often get these matching up nicely, but really this would be a bearish triangle going A, B, C, D, and E. And this would be the start of the move, which would then deliver a breakdown and a probable retest this low here at 66.25. We'll see how that develops. Lumber, we had a double top breakdown here. It failed, went back to the high, and we've now got a potential larger double top. Wheat, just kicking around here. I've got a general bearish lean, which I'll explain on the bigger picture charts. Corn, we've got a breakdown towards basically a retest this low here at 407.5, and I'd quite like to see that. At the moment this looks like a bear flag forming, so I'm not seeing anything particularly suggesting we won't see that. On soy, I was looking at this the other day, and actually this isn't, we had a head and shoulders, it broke down, it failed, and we formed a larger head and shoulders. Now it's not the prettiest head and shoulders in the world, but it's very valid and it's not bad quality. Just from a pure technical point of view, I'm thinking this may well deliver a retest the low, and I've got a general bearish lean on soy here at the moment. In terms of soybean oil, A, B, C, we've got a decent target here at a test of this rising support at about the 54 area. We'll see if it makes it. We have got a weak 60-minute sell signal fixed. Looking at live cattle, nothing really suggesting this is reversing here. And on lean hogs, we've reached megaphone resistance. I'm expecting this to break up from this soon. Of course, there's always a chance it heads back to megaphone support, which I've got here down about the 81 area. I'm not really expecting that. I think this will probably break up from this megaphone resistance soon. We'll see. Okay, great. Let's have a look at those on the big picture charts. And on coffee. Right, coffee. We've got on the daily chart, we've got a possible retest this low coming. This could set up a nice looking double bottom, and this wouldn't be an awful megaphone, although it's kind of sketched in at the moment. A retest this low and a bounce from here would be some decent confirmation that that might actually be a megaphone here. Looking at the bigger picture, you can see we're still significantly above our traditional levels, which if you go back in time tend to be sort of up to about like 35, 37. And we're still significantly behind that. Sorry, basically under 2 generally. We got up to 2.605. That was the highest we'd reached in many years before we came up into this high here. So I am wondering about some activity to the upside, but really we're kind of overvalued by historical standards. On sugar, we've got this kind of apocalyptic head and shoulders breaking down with a target in the 6.59 area, but I'm liking the short-term inverted head and shoulders. We will see. It wouldn't be astounding if it failed, but it's not bad quality, and I'm waiting to see whether it's going to deliver anything. We shall see. Weak RSI 14 buy signal is fixed, but it's not really a strong indicator in either direction. On cocoa, you can see again by historical standards where this is very, very richly priced at the moment. We're trying to hold on to the monthly middle band. Obviously, we haven't reached the end of the month yet. It's going to be interesting to see because, of course, it's held that a couple of times already. If we see a breakdown from that, now we could see a rejection the following month, or we could see a continuation down towards this big support level down here in the 6,427 area. So we're waiting for a decision on that. No current divergence in the short term. We'll see. All right, wheat. No current divergence. Kind of maybe bear flaggish, but to be honest, this isn't a pattern setup, which is telling us a lot. I am thinking if we go back and retest this low, though, we can set up a very nice looking double bottom, and that retest would be in the 495.50 area. Looking at corn, again, I'm wondering about a retest in the 305 area. 385 area, and that could set up a very nice looking double bottom. On the daily chart, we've got a possible RSI 14 buy signal brewing. We'll see, but I'd love to see that retest the low, and that could set up a very, very nice pattern. Looking at soybeans, again, this looks like a bear flag. I've been reading this as a bear flag for the last 6 months, I think. bear flags will tend to head back and retest the prior low, which was at 936.06. So I'm leaning towards it seeing that. We'll see. Okay, on the daily chart, no current divergence, but by the time we got down there, we might well have developed some. On cotton, I'm quite liking this as a double bottom on the bigger picture, but we might see a breakdown first. We shall see. On lumber, this looks like a bear flag. It's looked like a bear flag. Basically, it's been forming for the last 2.5 years. So we might see a retest of this high here at 686.11. That could make the second high of a pretty nice looking double top. We will see. Looking at the daily chart, we are hitting some trendline resistance here. We will see, but I quite like a retest this high here, and if we saw that, that could set up a very nice looking double top, which could take us most of the way back to these lows. We shall see. All right, great. I'm going to start covering crypto. I'm not going to cover that today, but I'm going to be covering that on Wednesday, and I'm going to start including that on the Bigger Picture webinars. But I'll skip that for today because I need to raise late at night and I want to wrap up. But I'm going to be starting to add that again from Wednesday. All right, great. In that case, I think it's a wrap. Everyone take care and have a good rest of the weekend. And I'm going to be doing a whole load of membership stuff and sending out emails tomorrow. All right, everyone take care.